Yes, then people, we are back. You know how it is, people. We've got Adam here and we have United Talk. So I'm going to bring in Adam. How is your evening been, Ads? How are you today, brother?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks, Jamie. Here to talk about obviously Man United, which is a slight change of flavour for us, but quite a bit to talk about given their lack of form and their battering, unfortunately, against Liverpool on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So we're bringing United Talk. Do you want to introduce yourself, brother? Let us know who you are.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Pleasure to be here. I do a Manchester United channel. Unfortunately, as Adam mentioned, it's not been very fun recently. It's not been an easy start to the season, especially the result against our biggest rival. So I'm sure we'll dive into all that, but it's not been good, man. Really hasn't.
No, 100%, brother. 100%. So, people, we are here today. We're here to talk predominantly about United because we have United Talks here. Their season, how it's gone thus far, and then maybe we can do a few little comparisons with Arsenal. We can make it a bit juicy, we can make it a bit fun. Who would you rather have, and so on, people. Let's just go with the flow here today. We ain't got nothing written down. We're just gonna go with it. So, Adam, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, people know that Adam is the co-host on the Footy Talk Show. So let's pull everyone in here now. Adam, sum up United season for me. Just give me a summary, brother.
Yeah, well, this is a very interesting one for me because, as you know, Jay, obviously I've done a fair bit of United content since fairly early on. Obviously, when I started there in the FA Cup semi-final, then the final, and then obviously I've done quite a few different podcasts with United Talks, who's in here today, and I really backed them this season. I really did. As you know, we did our Premier League predictions, and I thought that they'd sneak into the top four this season.
Yeah.
And it looks like I've got that quite wrong. I mean, it's only 3 games, but I think it's three very different games. I think the first game, it was, don't get me wrong, Fulham had chances. Manchester United had the much better chances and on balance probably should have won that game by more goals. But that was, a fairly, 3 points and they were happy enough. I think their fans, obviously. And then obviously moved on to the Brighton game. And again, that was a weird little game, that one. That could have gone either way. And I think obviously there were some big moments in that game that changed the game, including the offside controversy, where their new signing, Xerxes, touched the ball, and the ball was then offside and the goal was ruled out. And that would have put United in a really good position. And then obviously the Liverpool game is a completely different flavour because I thought Liverpool absolutely battered them. So really, of the 3 games, that was the only one where they were really rolled over to a significant extent. But I still think, when you've gone into the summer with the manager who's there now, will he stay? Won't he stay? Will they sack him? Won't they sack him? He's now already in a precarious position. And how many times have we seen that over the years, where a manager's just about given the go ahead to stay for the new season and then things have gone off the rails. I mean, as I was saying a little bit earlier off camera to United Talks, the Southampton game is massive now, absolutely massive for both of those clubs. For Southampton, obviously, because they fighting relegation, haven't won, and for Manchester United because Manchester United have to win to get back on track. So that is going to be an absolutely massive game.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. 100%. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard the pod where me and Adam, AGN Football, I'll call him Adam. I don't know if you've heard it, United Talks, where we talked about, we had our predictions, and Adam, what he just touched on and clarified then is that he thought they'd scrape top 4, and I pretty much said no, they won't. I said Ten Hag will be gone by December, and I said they're gonna start off poorly. And then all these transfer talks, all the transfers that are coming in, everyone was going, United this, United that. And I said, they do this all the time. They have a good transfer window and it just don't work sometimes. But going by this, I know you said that they only really got rolled over by Liverpool. I thought they were poor in the Fulham game too. I thought it could have went either way for Fulham as well. Could have gone either direction, in my opinion.
I think both teams had an issue being clinical in the Fulham game. I think both teams could have actually came away with 3 or 4 goals. Neither took their chances until the 87th minute. So you're right, it could have gone either way.
Yeah, completely agree with you, brother. Completely agree. To be sitting in 14th, the stature of Manchester United Football Club, and I will say this. I gladly say this every single time Adam hears me say this. Manchester United are the biggest club in England, and I can't deny it. I'm not going to even put Arsenal up there. It's between Liverpool and Manchester United, and it obviously is Manchester United that are the biggest, and that comes down to global fan base. That's what that comes down for me. Trophies wise, there's one difference. That what they've Liverpool have one more trophy, I think, and Liverpool. It is global fan base because they've had global superstars. But touching on this, brother, can you let me know? You know, talk about your feeling about these results. Can you see this on the screen, both of you?
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk us through the first game? Talk us through that Fulham game. You've touched on it there. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I think the Fulham game is a game that we should have had won much earlier than we did. It was a very nice moment seeing Xerxes come on and score so late on in the Stretford end on his debut. He actually became the third Dutchman to score against Fulham on his Manchester United debut. Van Persie and Van Nistelrooy
Yeah, we don't talk about him over here, bro. On this channel, we don't talk about him.
Yeah. It's a very, very controversial figure as far as Arsenal fans are concerned. But
I can't stand him. Go on, carry on, brother. Carry on.
I'm sure you can. But
Yeah.
Fergie made a very good move. He said, well, I've
He
got a
did.
striker that's going to win us the league, and he went on to do so.
Yeah, he did. Very much so. Very much so.
But as far as that Fulham game went, yeah, I think we should have won the game more convincingly with the amount of chances we created. But both teams in that game had a problem finishing their chances. With Brighton, we had 2 disallowed goals, so I can't help but feel like we deserved at least a point from it. Then again, you know, I suppose they only took the winner away in the 95th minute, but it's just such a painful start to the season. And United fans can't help but think we've been here before. Here we go again. And then the 3-0 batter into Liverpool was just a disgrace on so many metrics. Thought Casemiro was terrible. He gave the ball away about 13 times before inevitably being subbed off at half-time. As much as I'm behind the manager, I think Ten Hag got his tactics absolutely wrong. And I think there was so much wrong with that game. We let them wipe the floor with us. Things need to change quickly and drastically if we want any chance at that top 4 spot that Adam was talking about, which now seems incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, I think I can completely agree with you on that one, brother. The thing is, what me and Adam touched on about United fans have been quite. Towards the end of last season, they were all right with me. Normally, they give it a bit of some, and then the thing what got me with them when Man United such a massive club, they were arguing with Arsenal fans about finishing 8th and an FA Cup win, and I was like, is that how far your standards have fallen? Is that how far the standards have fallen realistically? Because when we finished 8th and won an FA Cup, we weren't trying to compare ourselves with Manchester City, what finished 2nd that season because Liverpool won the league that season. We weren't trying to compare ourselves with Man City because we were like, no, they're a different dynasty, they're a different club, they're better than us at the moment. And I think that United remind me of Arsenal 4 or 5 seasons ago when they're starting a rebuild. When Arteta came in, we finished 8th, won the FA Cup. We were in turmoil, we were struggling, and then people weren't. The fans were booing. We were having protests outside the ground, and Adam would completely agree with this because we've said it before. It reminds me of Arsenal when they started their rebuild. But I'm going to touch on a question for both of you because we are here to talk about Man United. We're not really here to talk about Arsenal. Is Ten Hag the man to take this team forward if Man United are sitting in 14th after 3 games? What are you saying, Ads?
No. I mean, it's a difficult one in a certain sense to answer, but football is a results-driven business, and it doesn't matter whether one of those games was on a knife edge or not. I'm talking about the Brighton one because obviously they could have scored, could have gone further ahead in that game, and then didn't. But you know, at the end of the day, 2 losses and 1 win. Those are the statistics, and those are the statistics that matter. And Liverpool really sort of bruised them, I think, on the weekend. I think that was damaging for Manchester United, and you know, sort of screams back to sort of the David Moyes era, where you know United were playing Liverpool and Liverpool winning 3-0, and Liverpool fans having a lot of fun at Old Trafford and all the rest of it. And I'm sure it's painful memories for Man United fans, but it doesn't seem.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't seem like those days are long gone, and I have spoken about this before and call it sentimentality, or when I started watching football in the era I started watching it.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, the nostalgia. Yeah, and I said, and United Talks and we've spoken about this on both of our channels. And what I'd say is I miss the rivalry. I miss the fact that the two clubs are far apart, because for me that was an honest rivalry. Whereas the one we've got with Manchester City right now, I think is based on, Manchester City, financial fair play, all the rest of it. And, as I say, we're talking about Man United, not City, but I'm just making the comparison that
Yeah.
rivalry we had with them back then was such a pure, honest and gritty rivalry. And I want to see the two clubs battling like that again. So it doesn't actually give me too much joy that we are not having those big games anymore, because I miss those big games. Those were great games. And I think with Ten Hag, obviously your initial question, I think he's probably got 1 or 2 games at most. I don't think he can afford another loss in the next 5 games. And I think if he loses another one, he'll lose his job.
Yeah, I can completely. I'm going to touch on it as well, and then I'll come over to United talks. I think exactly the same thing with Ten Hag. I think I can't see him. Even with they don't look like they're playing for him. For me, like, when we struggled, when Arteta came in, they were still giving something. They still wanted to. It just seems different to me. It does really seem different. And I am going to touch on something as well, because you said about the honest rivalry. It was an honest rivalry, and it was a gritty one, like you said, but. When you said about Man City, United did buy the best players around. They did go and buy the top goal scorer every single season with Van Persie, Dwight York, Andy Cole, and we didn't. So it was a good rivalry, which I wish was back, but they did spend much more than Arsenal did. And they did spend heavily. Juan Sebastian Veron, players like that. So they did, not necessarily.
Well, that Arsenal team was still phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. But it was Man City have much more spent, in this era now. But back then, United, you could kind of say that United were the City of that era, because they did spend a lot more money than Arsenal did.
And the dominance.
Yeah, the dominance. 13 leagues under Fergie. I get it. I completely get it. He's the best manager to come around. I can't deny it. I can't deny it at all. But he did have more money than Wenger had. He did. He had more at his disposal. They had a massive stadium, which is bringing in more revenue than what we had, which we've just started to come to that. But I'm going to come over to you, United talks, brother. Ten Hag, when's the point where you say he goes?
I think Ten Hag has always been flawed. I've never agreed with absolutely everything Ten Hag has done. His persistence with Rashford, despite Rashford being in terrible form, makes absolutely no sense. I've never agreed with it. I think Ahmad and Garnacho are by far the best wingers we can start. They're more creative. They actually look for the pass rather than being greedy and taking a shot from outside the box all the time, wasting possession. So his persistence with Rashford, who's a player who's not been good enough for us, by any means necessary, makes no sense. I think Ten Hag's still possibly fixated on Rashford's first season Ten Hag's first season in charge of United when Rashford scored 30 goals. And that was great, but you cannot judge this guy from his performances 2 years ago. You need to judge the current ones. It's like Casemiro's missus putting all the trophies he's won for Real Madrid on her story after the backlash that Casemiro got for his terrible performance against Liverpool. With all due respect, we purchased that guy for those phenomenal performances, but those ones he put in for Madrid that won Champions Leagues, won league titles, are not the ones he's putting in today. So we cannot base these players. Rashford and Casemiro are 2 good examples. We cannot judge these players for their performances of 2 seasons ago. They have to be good today, or they should be out the squad. Ten Hag he seems reluctant to put in new players as well until they've had quite some time at United, for example. He wasn't starting De Ligt when he first came in, and I think he needs to start Agate as soon as possible. I think he wasn't started against Liverpool because we couldn't register in time. And my worry now is Casemiro and Rashford will still be starting in the next game. And it's the complete wrong decisions tactically. With that being said, as many issues as I do have, and I do think Ten Hag's flawed, I also know that he ended a trophy drought that United had for 7 years. He won 2 trophies in 2 years, and he's brought me some of the best memories I've had as a United fan since Fergie was in the job. So I think this manager's got something. The people that were saying he never had any merit to be appointed as United manager in the first place. I disagree with, because he was doing very well in the Dutch league. Some people say just because you're not good because you're doing well in the
do you know
Dutch
what
league.
I think he is?
Go on.
I think personally, brother, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I think personally, Ten Hag is a tournament manager.
Right.
I think he does very well in tournaments. Ajax, when they went all that way in the Champions League,
Got to the Champions League final, I think it was.
They went out in the semis to Tottenham.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, when they scored that last minute Lucas Moura goal. But it was.
But I think they beat Madrid at one point.
Yeah, they did. They did beat Madrid. But I think he's a tournament manager.
Yeah.
Same as Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate is a tournament manager. You kind of get what I'm grasping at here. But what I am going to, you're United and we're Arsenal. I'm going to ask a serious question, yeah? And I'm going to ask, it's going to be regarding Arsenal and United. So people clip this if you want to clip it. Who generally, I'm not saying this as a biased Arsenal fan. I'm going to ask you straight away, United talk. Who generally from the Man United squad gets into Arsenal squad in Arsenal starting 11? Generally.
The only players that I can actually confidently say get into your squad, I think Mainu could.
Yeah, Mainu, I'll back 100%.
Mainu, I think absolutely could. I think Bruno Fernandes could, and I wouldn't say anybody else could. That's my honest opinion.
That's how bad it's got then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I would give you Mainu and I wouldn't give you anyone else.
Okay, that's understandable.
Yeah, because Bruno, I get Bruno what he is for yous, but then Odegaard is a leader for us. He carries us, he drags us. It's different. Like where Bruno Fernandes is a phenomenal player, but if it ain't going for him, he chucks his toys out the pram. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Like, but
yeah, and Odegaard is one of the most brilliant players in the world right now. I think he's a creative machine. He's fantastic for you, so that's understandable.
Yeah. So, Ads, I'll ask you the question because you're an Arsenal fan as well. Who gets in from them? And I'm saying this. I'm not being a prick about this either. I can swear a little bit because this.
I think you're right, mate.
Yeah. I'm not being a deluded Arsenal fan neither. Generally, I don't think. Like, let's go through the squad. Yeah. Well, shall we go through the squad together and United talk?
Yeah.
I'll start off. Onana or Raya. Raya's been sensational straight away.
Yeah, it's definitely Raya. I think he won the Golden Glove last year, didn't he? He just came in and fit in perfectly.
Yeah. So right back, Ben White. Who's playing right back for yous?
It's Ben White. He was brilliant last season. When they came back from that Dubai trip, the trip that Arsenal took to Dubai. Ever since then, he's been quality. So definitely Ben White.
Who would you take, brother? Would you take Ben White at right back, Ads?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Centre back. So we go Saliba against Delict or however you want to say it.
Yeah, I think you can argue either Delict or Martinez over Gabriel, but Saliba's absolutely undeniable. One of the best centre backs in the world. I've discussed this with Adam plenty of times. Saliba and Gabriel are the best centre back partnership in the world. It's been brilliant for you.
Yeah, and then so you say Lissandro. Left-footed centre back. Like my problem is my centre backs. I want big, massive machines who are beasts. The perfect centre back partnership. And even you had it with. You had Vidic, you had Rio, you had these players. You need someone who is gritty and gets at someone, just boats someone, hoofs them, and you have to have the Rolls Royce, which we have Gabriel and Saliba. Yeah, and you go back through all of time, and you had Carvalho and John Terry. You have these centre back duos, which I think you're trying to find. But I don't think you quite have grasped it where like you've got that, where we've finally got it. So we'll move on over to, so maybe you could have a case for Martinez over Gabriel, but I don't think.
No, to be clear, I would have Gabriel.
Yeah. You could have a case.
Martinez is in the conversation.
Yeah, of course he is. It's not like the other ones where it's like no chance. You can have a conversation. Yeah. Left back, adds who we've got? We've got Mazraoui who plays at left back now. No.
Yeah.
Left back, we could have Timber or Calafiori or Zinchenko. Maybe that could be a little argument. Maybe.
Well, what do you think of now? This player's never ever fit, but what do you think of Luke Shaw when he's not injured?
Oh, when he's not injured, he's good.
Yeah,
he's good. Definitely. He's injured again now, is he not?
Mate, he's injured every week. It's the story of every.
The most important thing of a professional footballer is consistency.
Yeah,
so you could be the best player in the world, but you're injured all the time. There's no point. There is no point. So
Reece James is fantastic, but he's never fit.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So, Ads, who would you take on the left back scenario there? Who would you take?
Difficult to answer because I haven't seen enough of
That's right.
He's
Marizali.
only had a few games in the Prem.
He was good against us for Bayern Munich in the Champions League last season.
I mean, Marizali is a good player. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong; he's a very, very good player. But I haven't seen enough of him in a Manchester United
comment.
shirt
Yeah, fair enough.
to really establish whether he could overtake any of ours. I mean, Zinchenko was very underwhelming last season. I'm not going to
Yeah.
stand here and say that he was brilliant. Far from
No.
it.
But I'll still
Zinchenko.
take him because of the Premier League experience.
Yeah. I'm sure you would. I mean, I don't think Zinchenko's our starter at the moment. I think
No.
we start.
Fury and Timber.
I think it's Timber,
Yeah.
and when it's not Timber, it will be Calafiori. So I would take Timber over Marizali.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So now the one we can kind of touch on where I don't think you can even say this either because Kobe Mainu doesn't play as a CDM. So you'd be comparing Mainu and Declan Rice.
Yeah. That's true.
They both play as
However, I
eight.
do think Mainu gets in over Partey.
Yeah, over Partey now currently, but I don't think I love Mainu. Adam knows how much I love Mainu. I love him, but I think Rice is better than Mainu.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, but I think if you could bring in if you brought him to the Arsenal squad where Declan Rice would come into the 6 and then Mainu would go in as an 8, then yeah, 100%. I'd take it all day long. Talk to me, ads, and then we'll go to United talks about Odegaard or Bruno Fernandes.
Odegaard for me, but it's like you said, Jay. I mean, I can recognise that Bruno Fernandes is a really good player, but I don't think. I mean, you're comparing first 11 for first 11. Does Bruno Fernandes get into an Arsenal squad? Yeah, of course. You'd have him on the bench, wouldn't you? You'd have him as a player that you could bring on, but does he replace Odegaard? No, and I think that's the distinguishment. That's where I would distinguish between those two different scenarios. Fernandes is undoubtedly brilliant. He's been very much irritating for Arsenal fans and other rival fans. I mean, he does what he needs to, and he's got that sort of edge as well about him in his game, and he's good in that way. But Odegaard, for me, the way he runs, I mean, Jay, I sit at the Emirates every week. I go to every single home game, and have done since 2021. So I watch Odegaard. He runs, even if he's having a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 game. He works so hard.
He's just Mr. Reliable, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Odegaard always puts in
100%.
A 7 every week, every single week.
I would say so. Yeah,
for the effort I think the difference between them both, Bruno is more of he can change a game in a moment where he can just shoot and score. Where Martin ain't really that, but Martin can drag your team forward when you're in there. People say he's not a big game player, but they don't watch what he actually does. He ain't there. Odegaard doesn't play as a 10. He plays as an 8. That's what people think. He's a number 10. He ain't a number 10. He's a number 8. He doesn't sit up there. He comes back. He tracks back. He works hard. He gets the ball deep. That's how he plays. Where Bruno is more like a 10, isn't it?
Odegaard's very, very versatile. And to be clear, as much as I do think it's a conversation you can have, I'd probably have Odegaard starting over Bruno if I had to pick.
I think for the United team, you could say Bruno, but for the Arsenal team, you'd say Odegaard. I think that.
Yeah, but Bruno's been one of our most essential players over the last few years. He's always there to bag goals and assists, and as you say, he can just change a game in an instant. He's got that magic about him, and we absolutely love him. But unfortunately, Odegaard is just one of the most, I think, creative players in the world right now. As I say, he's very, very reliable, and you wonder, would Arsenal be as high up in the league? Would they be in these title contending positions? Would they get so many points without Odegaard? I really don't think you would. He's so essential. And you've got an absolute dream on your hands there.
I think another one you can do as a comparison, boys, is Garnacho and Martinelli. But I do think that's only because Martinelli's come off form a little bit. I think if he's in his form, then there's no chance.
Trossard still probably gets in over Garnacho, though.
Yeah, I think so as well. How many goal contributions did Garnacho? I know it's not all about that, but they're wingers. Do you know how many goals did he score last season? I don't think it was a heavy amount, was it?
Last season, across all competitions, I think it was something like 10.
Is that it?
I think it was something. It wasn't a big number. Yeah,
I'll pull it up quickly. Let me quickly pull it up. I'm on Transfer Market, people. Well, this season he's had, and no, he hasn't had anything this season so far.
No. So
Nothing.
He scored in the Community Shield, which was
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
not in the league though.
23 to 24 stats, and I can pull it up on the screen as well for everyone.
Yeah, as I say, the stats won't always reflect a player perfectly. Garnacho is still essential to us, but yeah, it wasn't a crazy amount of goals last season.
No, so he had last season in 50 appearances, he had 10 goals and 5 assists, so that equals to one every 4 games. That's a goal or an assist. And let's go to Martinelli from last season, because I think there can be a conversation with this a little bit maybe now.
I think Garnacho and Martinelli, I'll be honest, I'd take Garnacho, but not over Trossard. I think Trossard's been brilliant.
Yeah. Because we think that Martinelli was poor last season, but I think he had more than that last season, even if he did have a poor season. I think
he might have still racked up more stats.
Maybe. No, 8 and 5. So it's not too. What was Garnacho? 10 and 5.
Yeah, 10 and 5.
It's 6 more appearances, so it's the same.
Bear in mind, Garnacho was only 19 for most of last season, so he's still very much a developing player, and I think we'll see more of him this season.
Of course. Well, I think, like we're saying, that can have a conversation, but it just shows how far Man United have gone.
How I'm only really able to get Manu in an Arsenal team, and I wasn't. I don't think any others can really have a conversation, to be honest.
And then you think what, like Ads has talked on and touched on, you think back in the day it could have been like you could have so many different players. You could have. Well, you
go back to the Keane and Vieira days.
Yeah, exactly.
I was talking about there's so many. It was such a historical rivalry. Arsene versus Fergie, Keane versus Vieira. It's a brilliant thing to look back on. And back in those days, it would have been so much more even. We did a combined 11, didn't we, of all-time Arsenal and United players, and that was about half and half.
It would be,
But today, absolutely, you can only get 1 or 2 players in there max, and it's not good enough.
Because I do, like, obviously, people, they know. Actually, at this point here, people, if you are listening, hit that 3-punch combination, bam, 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 by liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. And make sure you're checking out United Talks as well.
Cheers, mate.
No worries, brother. So, what you're talking on there, combined 11, I do this, and then I did it for Liverpool, and I think it was like half and half. Whereas with United, I struggle to think, how much we rip into Chelsea and say, oh, look at all these players, they're poor. Are United a better team than Chelsea?
That's very, very debatable. It's hard to say after 3 games because Chelsea are so unpredictable. Fantastic performance against Wolves, 6-2. They absolutely thrashed him. But then they couldn't even beat Palace at home. You just never know what you're going to get from Chelsea.
No, what do you think, Ads? Who's the better side?
Manchester United.
I agree with you, brother. I agree. I think it's United as well.
The reason I would say Manchester United is because I think Chelsea are more unpredictable than Manchester United.
Because United are quite unpredictable too.
I think United have the capability to turn up on their day, as do Chelsea, but I think United are capable of turning up more than Chelsea are. And I think Chelsea's decision-making has been worse in the transfer market than Manchester United. Manchester United, something is just missing. There's a key component just missing. And if they find what that component is, that the whole project may glue together. But at the moment, it's not. Because as we know, football is about form. I mean, the best of players can look atrocious on the wrong day. And poor players can look very, very good if they're having on the right day, if they're on a good day. So these metrics, they're all very nuanced and they're very difficult to substantiate. But I think Man United are better than Chelsea. I think they'll finish higher than Chelsea ultimately. But then I've been backing Manchester United as an Arsenal fan, and they're not showing me why I have so far. So I don't want to say too much.
Do you know what made me realise that? Do you know last season? I don't know if you remember this United Talks. The second last game of last season, where Arsenal had to go there and win to carry on the title race. Yeah. They went there, and we were 1-0 up, and they sat off us at 1-0 and just let us coast. We were in second gear. We didn't even try. We just chilled. Like it was going to Old Trafford and winning at Old Trafford, and it was easy. And I was like, "What's going on here?" Do you get what I mean? Where normally we go to Old Trafford, I'm all pumped up. I'm like, "Oh, this could go either way." And then last season when we 1-0 up, I was like, "We've got this in the bag at 1-0. I can't believe it." It was just so easy. And Old Trafford normally ain't like that.
Yeah, certainly. It's a testament to how low United standards have dropped when you compare those classic rivalry days to an easy win away at Old Trafford. But that's always going to be a fixture I'll be excited for, regardless. I think,
of course, me too.
Yeah, it's one that can go either way. I mean, despite that easy win last year, I think that was one of just about 16 games. I think you'd won one in your last 16 visits to Old Trafford. I think that's
I think it was. Yeah,
it's certainly a very difficult stadium to go to for you, and the Emirates is
we
never
don't
an
normally
easy
do the
one.
double overviews as well, and we did the double overviews last season.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, because we did the double overviews. You're the only top 6 team I think we did the double over.
Well, you went unbeaten against all your games in the top 6, didn't you?
Yeah, we did lose one game in and that's the one thing that's different about Arsenal. And I think that's what you're finding with your lot, with United. There, when it's coming to the bigger games, you are struggling. Like against, I generally thought, brother. Yeah, I did a prediction. I thought you would beat Liverpool. As mad as it sounds,
Really?
Yeah, as mad as it sounds, because United Liverpool, anything can happen. You look at last season, you just beat them 4-3, and it was 3-2, and it was 2-2. So you go the in between result, which is 3-2.
Yeah.
Because it was you. I think you beat them 4-3 in the cup, and then you drew 2-2 in the league.
Yeah, and then once again, we might have actually been able to get a point away from that if we were more clinical. Xerxes should have got at least one. He had 2 massive chances. So I look at all 3 of the opening games, and I'm just thinking it's the same old rubbish. Can't defend, not creative enough, not clinical enough, not able to stay onside, playing the opposing team onside, and just the same issues that I feel like I've been banging my head against the wall about for the last 10 years. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, we can't be that far off because we've had a great transfer window. And even though Liverpool absolutely dominated us, we very easily could have had 2 or 3 goals from that game. We just didn't put them away. That Fulham game, we could have very easily won 3-0, and we've had 2 disallowed goals in the Brighton game. So I don't think we're too far off. I just think it's a long journey ahead. And as Adam quite rightly put it, if Ten Hag gets too many losses now, he's got to be sacked by Christmas. Not even that I totally agree with it. I just don't see a way that he can pull it back if we're in a position like we were last year, where we were, I think, 10th at Christmas. That's just we can't go on like that. And it seems to be the way with many United managers. Mourinho, he had 2 years quite promising. 3rd season, it all went rubbish. Same thing with Solskjaer, and it looks like it's destined to happen with Ten Hag. But I'm praying that there's a way out. Southampton is a good game to come back to after the international break.
I'm going to be honest with you, brother. Adam knows this. My missus is a Southampton fan, a massive Southampton fan, bro. Massive Southampton fan. And I'll be honest, I don't mind United anymore, but I really hope that Southampton slap you. And that's just because for my missus, bro. But
it's like, what's that? Is that St Mary's and newly promoted Roaring?
I might be going to the game.
Really?
Might be. We're looking into it. So, but I went and watched Southampton versus Forest 2 weeks ago as well. Because
what was the
my
score
missus actually lives around the corner from St Mary's.
Right.
She lives around the corner from St Mary's, and her family are all season ticket holders. So I might be going to that game. But just to touch on the last few, what I'm gonna do. I don't know if you want to jump on. You can carry on, whatever. I will end it shortly, people. For everyone that's listening, I'm going to end it shortly. I don't know if you're going to do another one together. So I'm going to ask everyone. I'm going to go with realistic expectations where they think they're going to finish. I think that's just. I know it's only 3 games in, so it's a bit of a hard one to go from. I think that Man United will finish 6th. That's what I'm going for, and I don't know if that's too low or too high for you. But I think 6th is a realistic expectation for you. And people might say, "Oh no, we're going to finish higher than that." Because I had a lot of United fans when they had that transfer window saying to me, "We're going to win the league," and I'm like, "No, you're not. No, you're not. Calm, settle down."
Ridiculous.
I've had loads of Man United fans saying they're going to get. I've had Man United friends say to me they'll get a tattoo. I have to get a tattoo if Arsenal finish above. If United finish above Arsenal, and I'm like,
it's not going to happen.
No. Adam, realistically, where they're going to finish?
I was going to say the exact same place, not to be dull or boring, but I think it'll be between 5th and 7th. So I'd go in the middle, 6th. I think that's if they get things going fairly soon, and they're going to have to. So yeah, I think United will finish 6th. We talked about Chelsea earlier. I think they'll actually miss out on Europe. So I think United will finish higher than Chelsea. I think they'll end up in the Europa League again next year.
Well, this United talks for my prediction. I put Chelsea in 9th, and I put United in 6th in my predictions before the season started when we did the podcast.
I think that's very low for Chelsea, just because. I mean, don't get me wrong. Chelsea are the team that could finish in the top 4 and could also finish 14th.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
spoken about their unpredictability, but and don't get me wrong, I'm having a great time laughing at Chelsea at the moment. Obviously, you hate Chelsea as Arsenal fans, and you know they're not a massive rival of United, but it's been so funny the last couple of years, them finishing 12th. You know, us putting them in the Conference League, winning the FA Cup, even though they finished above us last season.
Yeah.
Chelsea are just taking L after L. They're now losing games in the Conference League, which is hilarious.
To Serviettes.
yeah, to a napkin.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's very good to see. However, I do think they have those players that can just make that difference. Cole Palmer, absolutely fantastic. Needed to start more games for England. I don't know what Southgate was playing at, but we all know he was not a tactical genius. Caicedo, I think, is very good on his day. And they've got a few of those players that I think have got to mean that they finish higher than 9th. Whether they'll get in Europe or not is up for debate. I don't think they'll finish above United. I'm going to say United finish 5th. Yeah. I was more optimistic going into the season, having had the great transfer window we did. But I still think we'll finish above Chelsea wherever they finish. They're so inconsistent, honestly.
Yeah, so on that note, people, remember to hit that 3-punch combination, and we always talk about this at the end of every show. So bam. At the end of every show, mental health awareness, checking in on someone today, whether it's a friend, family member, or a loved one. If you listen to me on the train, you listen to me anywhere, you hear my voice, take your headphone out, checking on the person next to you, yeah? Because people are struggling, and we stand up to racism on this channel. That's what we do. We stand up to racism. We don't ignore it. If you just ignore racism, you're just as bad as the problem, people, yeah? If you just ignore it. So mental health awareness and stand up to racism. Do you want to drop your plugs, United Talks, brother?
Yes, United Talks on YouTube. Much appreciate if anyone could check it out. And it's 4040 Talks on TikTok. But yeah, it's been a pleasure being on the channel, mate. Really enjoyed the discussion today. Thanks very much for having me.
No worries, Ads. No worries, United Talks. Ads, is there anything you want to touch on before we leave? Because your plugs are already at the end of the show in the credits anyway, so I don't need to. We all know that you're a smelly Egypt, so we don't need to talk about anything else. Go on, brother. What do you want to drop? What do you want to say, bro? Anything else? Any things to touch on before we finish?
No, really, just to say that it's been a very enjoyable show as per usual. Thank you, United Talks, for his time. I know we delayed at the start, and thanks, Jay, for coming on and doing what you always do, which is presenting the show so wonderfully well. So thank you, everybody, and wish everybody a really good evening.
Peace and love, people. Speak to you all later.